Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel, and thank you for joining. Now, in today's episode, we have the last of the practice games. Well, now, when the first practice game came up, I couldn't wait till it started. By the time we got to the last practice game, I was over it because I was sick of changing my team. Just coming down. Anyway, now we're going to review our last practice game. Now, before I start the review, I've gone onto YouTube to fix up my audio issues, and I think I fixed it. But if I haven't fixed the issues, please let me know in the comments below if I'm sounding very sexy, okay? Just let me know how sexy my voice sounds. But if it sounds like I'm underwater again, just let me know also. Just coming down. Now, I'm supposed to be talking 4 inches next to the microphone, they told me, so that's a new one I just found out. So I'm talking very close to the microphone now. And let's go now for all the practice games. And let's start off first with Freo. Now, the usual suspects, okay? You got your Brayshaws, your Clarks, your Ryans, your Sarongs. We don't need to talk about them, okay? Because we know what they can do. We know they're primos. We didn't need to see them in action today to work out how good they are or how bad they are. So that's not an issue. Okay, now, one thing to take note of, though, is Clark seems to be playing higher up the ground than what I saw him last year. Now, it was a practice game, but I did notice he was much higher up the ground. Last year, he was up the ground, but not this high, okay? So I did notice his movement a bit further up. And also, I did notice that Clark and Ryan virtually shared the kick-ins. They took 6 each. Now, that doesn't mean anything because we know that Ryan is a hog and he's going to take up all the kick-ins. So we'll see how that goes. Now, we move over to Luke Jackson. Now, Luke Jackson with Shrek out is a gun, okay? Now, problem is, even without Shrek out, okay, Luke Jackson still has Reedy in the team. Now, Reedy had 17 hitouts, and this is time taken away from Jackson, okay? So you got to keep that in mind. So Luke Jackson, maybe, I'm not sure what the ruck split was, maybe 20 or 30%. I'm not sure exactly. I don't have the figures in front of me, but I'm assuming that Luke Jackson played forward. I did see him in the ruck, so a bit of ruck time. Keeping in mind, time on ground with Reedy, where's time on ground? It's 72%. Now, at the 72%, I can't see where Reedy played, but the ruck, okay? Because he doesn't play anywhere else. So I would say that Jackson would have had 28% time on ground as a ruckman. Now, in that 28%, he had his 9 hitouts. He accumulated 18 possessions plus his own accumulation throughout the other parts of the ground, and scored the 2 goals. Jackson actually looked decent, okay, and I was very impressed. But we saw what Jackson did last year, so it's just a watch. You can pretty much get him any time at a similar price because he's not cheap now. Going further down, okay, Bolton. Bolton kicked the 2 goals, okay, and scored 76 Supercoach points. He's going to play high half forward, a bit of forward pocket. He's going to play full forward. He's going to play in the midfield. He's not going to score consistently. He only had 13 touches. He probably had more CBAs at Richmond than he's going to have at Freo because the Freo's got so many midfielders, and they even had some of their guns. Young wasn't playing, so very hard for Freo to get for Bolton to get in that Freo midfield, if you ask me. So for me now, I would be very cautious if you're thinking of picking Bolton. Now, Nathan O'Driscoll, a very popular young man amongst the Supercoach community right now, decently priced, expensive rookie price, but is good, is cheap enough. He's under 200k, has that wing role. Looked like having a bit of a CBA role, but I don't think he's going to have that when Young comes back. So more a wing role. In the first quarter, very quiet. I noticed a lot of teams, a lot of coaches took him out of their teams because he didn't touch the ball the first quarter. Then they rushed him straight back, okay? Because in the next 3 quarters, he finished on 72 Supercoach points. So at that rate, he would have gone 100. But Keep in mind, he did score the 2 goals to get there, so we're not going to expect 2 goals from NOD, Nod. Okay, we're not going to expect 2 goals every week from Nod, so it's something to think about, but he's a very popular young man right now. Going further down, we look at the other winger, Sharp. Now, he had 15 touches, scored a 51. Now, Sharp in the first quarter was on 30 or something, so the role shifted if you look at the wingers. Now, Reid is an interesting one. He only scored 50, okay, and he's a big chance to be that sub, but he looks very good. But I'm not sure on his scoring potential at the moment. So he's a fine young kid, but 132k for a 50. If the job security is there, you grab him, okay? So we'll see how he goes. Going further down, have I missed anyone? Okay, before I go down. Okay, no, I've got them all there. Okay, now let's go further down. And Reedy. Now, unfortunately, Reedy is not much of a ruckman. Okay, now he had 72% time on ground, 72%, okay, and he had 3 touches, 3 disposals in 72% time on ground for a ruckman. Just coming down, okay, you can't put him on field, and I did mention this earlier in the season that if I do have Reedy, I would love to have Boyd as at flex and play Boyd in the ruck. Rather than play Boyd at flex and Reedy be the R3 because Reedy I can't trust. And the way Boyd played, I can't trust him either, but I trust Boyd more than Reedy. So probably going to be a pass on Reedy. He's not going to make much cash, okay? Maybe he's going to make 100k very slowly, okay? And not even that because Shrek's going to come back probably around 3 to 5. How much cash is Reedy going to make between now and round 5? If he scores 15s, okay, even if he scores 50s, it's not enough. So I think he's a pass. And unfortunately, Erasmus, who we all were hoping that would get in this team, looks like Reid is ahead of him, okay, and Erasmus could be another sub. So between Erasmus and Reid, one of them two is going to be a sub, I think. We now go to Melbourne, and there's one player here at the top, Clayton Oliver. Now, 134 Supercoach points, 28 disposals, and keep in mind, Oliver only had like 50% CBA, so if you take the goals out and add in the CBAs, you would have got the same score, similar score, so it's a good sign. And it looks like Oliver is back, okay? And I'd say he's as close as must-have as there is, especially at his price. I mean, if he was 550k, I would still get Oliver, okay? But he's 450k. So definitely someone that should be in your teams. However, Petrarca is a different story, okay? Now, Petrarca also had 50% CBAs, but I think that's all he's going to get, okay? And I'll be shocked if he gets more. Because of his injury, okay? And he's going to play a bit more up forward. They've trained Langdon in the midfield this year. They've trained Rivers to play in the midfield this year. So I can see Petrarca playing 50-50, forward and midfield. Now, he had a good game, okay? And there's no goals in here. So it's 33 touches with no goals and still scored a 126. So that's very impressive, okay? Now, that's a very nice, okay? Now, the only thing is it's a practice game, okay? And in real time, real game time, there's more pressure, okay? And people are going to slam into each other. It's a bit riskier for Petrarca to play in that midfield and cop a lot of tackles into his ribs and etc. So I'd say he'd be a bit more on the forward line. So he's going to have DPP. I can see it coming, and he's a player that I would bring in after round 6. I wouldn't start him because in that midfield it's very hard. There's a lot of players we want to bring in there. Okay, you got the news out now because I've put this video up late. The news out now is the Brisbane Lions game, the Geelong game, the Essendon game, the Gold Coast game. All going to get postponed. Okay, now if that's the case, there's more midfielder spots opened up. So Petrarca probably just a wait till his bye round. Okay, sorry, until round 6 when DPP's drop, then grab him. Now, Max Gawn is Max Gawn, okay? So we know what Max Gawn can do. So he had his 18 disposals, 1 goal, 116, okay? It's just a practice game. And Max Gawn didn't have much competition, okay? He played against Reedy, okay? Now, Reedy, as we know, didn't do much. Now, going further down, May. Now, May usually hogs up all the kick-ins, but May's never been Supercoach relevant. He's always in the top 10 to 12 to 14. So probably a pass on May. Sparrow had a good game, a pass on him as well. But Langdon is the interesting one. Okay, now Langdon usually plays on the wing. Doesn't get much contested footy. But now he's playing in the midfield. And if anything, I don't know what happened, but Langdon was more preferred in the midfield than Rivers. Okay, and that was a shock because everyone was jumping on Rivers, but now it looks like the love for Rivers has died again. He only had 17 touches, so Langdon, keep an eye on, but he only scored 93 Supercoach points with 30 touches. Okay, that's a worry. Okay, so you can probably see there's not much contested possession, even though he's in a contested possession role. So he looks like more the outside player still, even in the midfield. Going further down, let's have a look. Billings we saw last year, okay, Naan Arris, okay, had 20 touches, 71. Now, Rivers was the one, and I think because of this role, we don't know, Melbourne sort of pretty much tricked us all, okay, so people that were hoping that Rivers was going to be that midfield, mid-priced defender similar to Perryman, is not going to be the case. He played a lot of forward, okay, so that's even worse. So I'd pass on Rivers now. Going further down, Johnson, okay, now Johnson with that very nice hairstyle of his looked sensational with that hair. I mean, his hair was shining, okay, because he's got no hair, but it was. I think it was a freshly cut version of him. He looked like who did he look like? Okay, Bruce Willis, I think, the bold version of Bruce Willis. I don't know who he looked like, but he looked different. Okay, you could spot him at a mile away. Now he's gonna be a rookie that can score 54 points. Put him on the bench. He's gonna make you 150k. Okay, and it looks like job security for him is pretty not bad. Okay, it was between him and Jefferson, I think, and looks like Johnson is the chosen one. So let's keep an eye on Johnson for round 1, and I'm pretty much going to lock him on my bench. Now, Adams, okay, now I liked his game, especially in the first half. However, he's a 196 centimetre player, but there's a few players missing, plays in defence. Looks like there's a few ahead of him. Keep him on the watch list. He might be a player that can be a downgrade option if there's any injuries to the Melbourne defence of the Tools. Okay, so if there's any injuries to Melbourne Tools, we might see Adams come into the team. Lindsay going at 53. I think he's more of a 50 to 65 type of player, which is good enough. Job security is there. So he's going to make some cash, but it's a bit more expensive than those one. He's a 30k more expensive, probably even 40k more expensive than most. So if you can't find any players to put on that bench, then Lindsay could be the one because job security seems good, but he's also a sub risk, so we're not sure. Now, Langford is another one. Okay, now last week we saw him have 20 touches. This week, only 11 touches. That's a worry. Played more half forward. Last week he played more midfield, but we saw Langdon have that role now. I don't think they're going to push Langford into that midfield. A young body, they're not going to hurt him, okay? So it looks like he's going to have a half forward. He did look good in the half forward role as well. He's going to be a gun, okay? You can tell. But for now, at his price, scoring 43s, I'd probably pass on him. Now, going further down, Pickett didn't play much, scored a 20. I think Pickett's going to be more of an 80 averaging player, probably good for drafts, okay, but not for Supercoach, the traditional way we play. So I'd probably pass on him. Woden, I was hoping to see more of. We didn't see it, so it looks like because I only had 26% time on ground. Looks like he's not one of the favourite childs there at Melbourne at the moment, so maybe he's also waiting for an injury so he can pop in. So pretty much a watch on Woden. And that's pretty much it. Now, Van Rooyen got injured, so who replaces him? Okay, we're not sure. So we're going to find out. But we don't know how bad the injury is also, so maybe he's okay. And McDonald looks like he's not favoured and he didn't even play. Okay, so that's not a good sign for McDonald. Now, let's take a look at some of these players that are Supercoach relevant. And let's start from defence. Okay, now, Luke Ryan, 8% owned. Clark, 8% owned. They're very popular, okay? And the chances are that Luke Ryan probably finishes top 6. Clark maybe top 8, okay? Because Clark can go one level up and maybe overtake Ryan. We're not sure, but at the moment, they're very popular young boys, okay? Now, going further down, Stephen May was never Supercoach relevant, but Rivers was, and he's still 5% owned, and looks like Rivers he's a not good. Okay, I'm not sold on Rivers' role now, so I'm gonna pass on him. But if you still like Rivers, if you think he'll get those midfield minutes, maybe stick with him. But I can't see it now. Going further down, is there anyone else that's Supercoach relevant here? Let's have a look now. Well, there was mention about Cox. Okay, someone messaged me about Cox, but I can't see it. Okay, I'd probably pass on Cox. Further down, let's have a look now. Woden. Okay, now we were hoping to see Woden play and cement his place in the team, but that hasn't happened, unfortunately. So Woden maybe now going to be on the watch list as possibly a downgrade option later on. Going further down, that's pretty much it. Well, and there's Jed Adams also. We're going to also watch him and see how he goes. And if there's any injuries, he's also going to be on that list. Now, Carl Warner, I didn't speak about him. Did I miss him? Okay, let's have a look. Let's go back here now. Warner, this is interesting. Go back to Freo. What did Warner score? Okay, well, Warner only played 46% time on ground. Okay, so he didn't have a full game. Scored 44 in a half a game. Okay, so Warner could be one to watch. Okay, now but we're not sure on his job security. All right, but his 185k is not cheap. So you would want him to start 100% because at 185k you can get a lot of things these days. Okay, now let's go to that midfield, and we already know that Sarong and Brayshaw are guns. Okay, Sarong 25% owned, Brayshaw 10% owned, and the chances that both of these boys could finish in the top 8. Okay, now we know that. Okay, now the only other thing is Petrarca now at 556k. Now the thing with Petrarca, all right, let's go to Petrarca. All right, let's log on him. Okay, let's go to season stats. Let's say, for argument's sake, all right, once this thing works for me, all right, here we go. The internet is slow again here. All right, we have it working now. Let's go down, okay, and let's forecast for Petrarca. All right, let's give him 110s. All right, let's say he goes at 110. All right, I'm gonna go. Let's give him 115. All right, let's say he goes 115 the first 7 weeks, or we want to get him around 6, the first 6 weeks, because we want to get him as a I ruined it. Okay, what did I do that for? Okay, back here. Okay, so 115. All right, give him 115. Let's project his price at 115. After round 6, he goes to 599k. All right, if we go down to 110. Okay, 110. Project. He goes to 581k. His price at 556. It doesn't go up by much. Okay, probably 20k extra, 25k extra. I'd wait. Okay, pay the extra 25k and pick him up and then have Petrarca as a DPP forward. So if he goes at 110, it's worth the wait. If he goes at 115, 120, then we've got problems. Okay, so we might have to grab him now. His draw coming up. Look at GWS. Okay, he may go nuts against North Melbourne. You got Gold Coast. Chances are he could go nuts against them. Geelong are a bit stronger, so it may not go huge against them. Then he has Essendon, and then we get him for this game. Okay, so now who else is there? Okay, well, there's Hayden Young, and he's going to play in round one, I'd say. It says here hamstring available for early season, so there's still 9 days to go, so I'll probably see Hayden Young play. Other players to take note of is going to be Oliver. Okay, now Oliver's in 59% of teams, so he'll be in 80. Okay, so whatever Oliver scores doesn't matter. If he has a big game, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter because if you captained him, then you're going to have a big captain score. But if he has a bad game and everyone's got him, it doesn't matter. So Oliver's there. Now, going further down, midfielders, who else is there? There's Driscoll. O'Driscoll is 20% owned, very popular young man, and at quarter time, people were very cold on him, and then the next 3 quarters, everyone got excited, and the coach gave him big raps, said that everyone stopped while he was still running in the last quarter, so O'Driscoll is one to watch, but mind you, it was a practice game. Of course, they all stopped. Just come it down. Okay, now, going further down, Langford, he was very highly owned, and he's still highly owned. It's still at 23%, so he's actually more popular than O'Driscoll. Okay, so people are expecting big things from Langford. If we go further down, Lindsay is at 3%, and it's a bit of an awkward price with Lindsay, 158k. So the only thing good about Lindsay is his job security, and even that's a question mark. Is he a sub-risk? So keep an eye on Lindsay. And if we go further down, Murphy Reed is another one to watch. Also, possible sub-risk. Okay, now Reed is owned by 8%. So we'll see how we go with Reed. If he's a sub, obviously we're not going to start him. And we were hoping to see a bit of Jack Henderson. It didn't work out. Looks like he's not in the in the best 20. Probably not best 26. Okay, so Henderson probably a downgrade option later on if he plays. And Erasmus. Again, probably not in the best 25 at the moment, so we'll have to keep an eye on Erasmus. Maybe he's borderline top 25. We now move over to the rucks. Okay, now we've got Gawn. Now, he's 17% owned. Now, Sean Darcy. Now, when is he due to play? What does it say here? It says expected available for early in the season, and they did say between round 3 and 5, which then means if you go to Liam Reedy, okay, what are the chances of Liam Reedy making any cash? Now, if we go to Liam Reedy's profile, okay, let's go over here and let's work out season stats for him, how much he's going to make. Let's give him an average of 50. Let's be generous for Liam Reedy because a ruckman should score more than 50, but let's go be generous with Reedy. In 5 weeks, let's say 5 weeks, he scores 50s, all right? How much does he make? Let's have a look. Okay, so by the time we get to after the Richmond game, he goes to 211. All right, so it makes about 80k. It's actually not that bad. I thought it was going to be worse. So, but let's see if he scores 50s, because we saw him score a 15, okay? And mind you, his draw's not that bad. All right, he plays Geelong. Geelong don't have a ruckman right now, so he plays an easy game first up. He plays against Grundy second, so that's a tough one. Plays against West Coast. That's not that hard, okay? So plays against West Coast. We don't even know who their ruckman is right now. So then he has English. He may even do well against English, okay? So it's not a bad option to have Reedy at R3 now, actually, because then he plays Richmond. That's a tougher game. So if he scores 40s, say 45, if he scores a 45, what does he do? 190, it makes 60k, all right? If he scores at 60s, but I can't see it happening, all right? If he goes 60s, he makes 130k, or 110k. Anyway, it's something to consider with Reedy. Now, Luke Jackson is another popular young man. He's owned in 16% of teams. At the moment, you can play him as the ruck or on flex, okay? Now, that's not an issue. The issue is Sean Darcy, because if he averages, right, let's do one for Jackson, all right? And we have to do this manually because we're going to change his stats, because we're going to go 110 when there's no Darcy, then we'll go down to say a 90, or when there is a Darcy. All right, so let's go here. All right, mind you, first up he's got Geelong. Okay, this could be a 120 game. Right? Let's give him a 120 against Geelong. All right, 120. Then Sydney. Let's give him a 110. And then West Coast. Let's give him another 120. All right, against West Coast. Then he has the Dogs. Let's give him another 120. All right, let's be generous. Well, last year he went 115. Right, let's give him 115. Then he has Richmond. Give him a 120 against Richmond. Okay. Now let's project this. Project it. His price goes to 579k. All right, so he's made 70k, but let's say he still scores 95s. His price starts dropping again. Okay, so that's the problem, and a chance that he'll probably score 85s. Playing as a full forward with sharing the team. So that's the only problem with Luke Jackson. Okay, that's what makes me very scary right now. I can't do it. Now, next up, Shy Bolton. I'd say pass. Doesn't have those midfield minutes that he had at Richmond. Looks like because the midfield, Sarong, Brayshaw, Young, is too strong. Okay, and Bolton can't get in that midfield. He'll probably have 20% or 30%. At Richmond, he was up to 50%, so it makes a big difference. Go further down, Pickett. He's not even playing. Okay, suspended again. Expected to be available around 4. Okay, so forget about Pickett. Go further down. Who is there? Okay, now is there anybody else? Okay, have I missed somebody? I'm not sure. Going down more. There's nobody so far. We already spoke about Erasmus. There's Aiden Johnson. Okay, now he's going to score 55s. Okay, at 55s. Let's go over here. Even at 50. All right. But let's give him a 55 because we're in a generous, because we gave Jackson 120. So let's give Johnson a 55. What happens with him now? Let's have a look. Let's go down. All right, go 55. Let's give him 7 weeks. All right, and I think job security is secure. All right, 55 projects. Okay, after round 7, he's 253k. He's made 140k. That's decent. Now, after Johnson, there's one more player here, and that's Jefferson. Okay, now Johnson and Jefferson fighting for that same spot. Johnson's got it. Okay, so we don't need Jefferson. Now, Jefferson's going to be on our watch list for possibly a downgrade option later on, and job security not very strong. Scoring potential very low. Okay, so Johnson is the man right now. Anyway, I think that's all of them. And that'll be all for today. Thank you for joining. And remember one thing. It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. Ciao for now.
That's all, folks.